Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to Bat chat about another Bat book, and today we're going to take a look at the trade Batman versus Deathstroke. Now this particular story didn't really occur in any Bat books. It didn't occur in Batman or Detective Comics. It wasn't a crossover. It primarily occurred, it really did only occur in the title Deathstroke, issues 30 through 35. And going into this, full disclosure, I really don't have a whole lot of Deathstroke under my belt. Just one of those characters, good, bad, or indifferent. I like the concept. I just really can't get into the character enough to follow through like on a monthly basis. His book, pretty well successful in Rebirth. I think if I remember correctly, Tony S. Daniel had him during the New 52, at least for a good run of it. But I think almost the whole entire run, it was done by writer Christopher Priest. Christopher Priest, for me, didn't read a whole lot of him. Before, I gotta correct my chronology. The only other thing, the only thing I read by him was Justice League. He picked up after Brian Hitch's part in the New 52, and then Christopher Priest kind of finished off that era of Justice League for Scott Snyder, and James Tynion kind of picked up on it. So Christopher Priest, a writer that really didn't have a whole lot of exposure as well. This in particular story, originally I was going to pass, but oddly enough, the thing that kind of sold me was the variant covers. And the way I kind of collect my comic books on singles, I like to primarily get the main covers. Now Batman and Detective Comics, those are the ones I get the main cover and the main variant. And then, titles like, The Batman Who Laughs or Dark Knight's Metal, I'll get as many the variants as well as the main covers. So but other than that, and Action Comics and Justice League Dark, all other books I get the main covers. And the one I started exclusively on getting only the variants was the story that occurred again in the title Deathstroke, mainly because the artist Francesco Mattina did, I think, all but one of them. Now the good thing about this, you can kind of see the variants. So let's go ahead and take a peek at this. So this was issue number 30, right here to the left. 31, he did not do that. It was Jerome Pena. He did a couple Batman variants as well. Mattina did 32, 33, 34, and 35. So originally I was going to pass on this story, but oddly enough, the variants kind of sold me. The reason I was going to really pass on this was the main central part of the story, in that the main premise of the story being sold before coming out was, hey, Damian Wayne is not the true son of Bruce Wayne. Damian Wayne is the son of Deathstroke. And I just smelled no way Jose kind of going into it. But I got the covers, they look cool. And I was like, alright, what the heck. So I got it, I read it. So I read the story monthly. I have kind of stopped. There was actually somewhat of an interesting story after this one where Deathstroke kind of goes to Arkham, but I didn't kind of follow up on that. So I just kind of exclusively just said, okay, for one story only, I'll get the Deathstroke title, get the covers, read the story, and then kind of go from there. So, again, this is one I was going to originally pass on it. But, and full disclosure, really didn't enjoy it at the time, read it monthly. So I was in one of the Barnes and Nobles or Books A Million, I can't remember which one, not too long ago. Came across this as a good deal, and the Batman completionist me. Alright, for my trade collection, this sort of kind of has some significance. I'll get to that in a minute. So I was like, what the heck, I'll go ahead and pick it up. So overall, again, writer Christopher Priest, not bad. Art primarily by Carlo Pagayan, I'm sure I'm butchering that name. And then some art in between. You have Ed Benz, Jason Paz, and Jeremy Cox as well. And again, the premise of the story is, hey, someone is leaking out to Batman that they have proof that, Damian Wayne is not your legitimate son. And Damian Wayne is actually the son of Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of leave it at this page right here. That's actually Tim Drake. Get that in a minute. And why was I kind of like, no way, Jose, going into this? Because in theory, the theory of Damian Wayne being the son of Slade Wilson early on in Grant Morrison's run could have been really interesting and possible. If you look at it, he grew up being raised by his mother, Talia al Ghul, being raised and taught by the League of Assassins, all that good stuff. And Slade Wilson, hey, it fits the mold. It would make sense. The reason why we kind of go into it now, and you kind of want to sit there and throw, to use a hockey term or even a football term, want to throw the coach's challenge on this, is that there was just been a whole lot of groundwork that laid the foundation that, Damian Wayne is the son of Bruce Wayne. And going into this thinking that anything was going to be different and prove that, hey, over the years, all those classic stories and solid foundation that's been laid down, hey, that's nonsense. It's actually Slade Wilson. It wouldn't have made sense. It's just no. It's no. No. There is no way going into the story knowing that Damian Wayne is not gonna be sold as the true son of Slade Wilson and not Batman. So going into it, the premise, while would have been interesting back early, where kind of look at it in the early part of Grant Morrison's run, let's say Batman's son, kind of even going into the Black Glove, where you want to throw that concept in there, it would have been, that could have been something there where you can kind of say, this is interesting because it could happen. Because back then it was a new character and that concept really hasn't been solidified. But now, again, it's just no. So right off the bat going into this, that was the major hurdle trying to sell everyone, is that read this story with a premise that is not going to really pan out and really be anything that's going to change the status quo, as in the paternal relationship between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Damian Wayne. It's just not going to happen. But that said, if you look at the potential rift between Batman and Deathstroke, that's interesting. That was one thing reading through the story I was really had my interest in, because if you look at the two characters, again, Batman being that one individual in the DCU where he is like a superhero without the superhero powers. This is the peak of human condition. Deathstroke, while he has some elements that kind of give him some advantages, where he's not, all of his power and his strength and his advantages come on the peak of human condition. He has some other things, which the Prometheum and stuff that I'm not nearly smart enough to kind of talk about in any much greater detail, but other than to which to say, these are in concept two even-peeled combatants if they were to go against each other. Now again, there's some things Deathstroke clearly has the advantage of, but this would be a cool battle. And over a 5-6 issue miniseries, having them go head-to-head battle, mano-a-mano, at the end of the day too, Deathstroke's like a bounty hunter, so he has some detective-like skills as well. Kind of see, the mental and the physical side of these two clashing. That would have been interesting. And that's one thing that kind of saves throughout the story that Christopher Priest does pretty well, is that you get some instances where they kind of butt heads, but they don't go, full fisticuffs. And then throughout the story, the battles, when they do go in between each other, slowly over time kind of amps up. you see the violence and the action kind of going up and up and up each time they encounter each other throughout the story. As the story progresses and the damage between the two increases. So that I thought was really well done. What Christopher Priest does well in here as well, it kind of interweaves some supporting characters in this. Forgive me again, I'm not really smart on the exact names of some of these Deathstroke characters, but we'll say Deathstroke's ex-wife pops in here a couple times. There's son and assassin, again, can't remember, Nighthawk, I think, that his ex-wife, who kind of works somewhat for the government, it kind of gets woven in here. There's a weird character, which I can't remember his name either. This guy here, oh boy, he was in a group called the Justice Experience. I can't remember the name, and I'm spending too much time kind of going into this, other than to say I'm probably just going to point to him and say him. He gets thrown in here. The Robins-ish get put into this. Nightwing, obviously Damian. You might say, what about Tim? Because Tim, he's woven in here throughout. But if you're kind of keeping, that's Tim right here. Actually has this video that he recorded way back when he was Robin. Regular Robin. So this kind of defunks the whole Red Robin concept. So if you're trying to do somewhat of a Batman timeline, again, remember, New 52 and on, Tim Drake is Red Robin. And the fact that Tim Drake clearly got the Robin costume, this is going to put it before the New 52. And it's actually set as far as, quote unquote live. This occurs right after when Tim was quote unquote dead in the Pages Detective Comics, with what occurred with Mr. Oz and oh goodness, good gracious, Batwoman's father, Kane. Oh, I'm having brain farts. Anyway, he dies, sort of. Read the book. So as far as your timeline, it kind of occurs maybe toward the this is, yeah, we'll say a year into Rebirth. If you're trying to do a timeline like New 52 and on, it gets kind of hard, to be honest. But that's kind of like your perspective when this story actually occurs. But Christopher Priest really does weave those. When again, Talia comes in here. Then you got Deathstroke, his ex-wife. His son shows up while you actually see some videos that kind of gives Tim's perspective on Batman. You actually see Deathstroke's son in here as well, in a very similar type of fashion, like right here. Kind of gives perspective Deathstroke from his perspective, whereas Tim kind of viewing Batman as a father figure, as a person through his perspective. Now Deathstroke's son does the same thing, so you kind of get that vibe as well. Who else shows up here? Alfred, the equivalent to Deathstroke's Alfred, actually is in here as well. So you get a lot of people kind of thrown into this, and Christopher Priest does that pretty well. The thing that kind of gets me on Christopher Priest's writing style, and I saw it in Justice League and it's here throughout as well, is that timeline, not within the overarching DC universe, I mean timeline as in the story itself, really jumps around, and you kind of have problems every once in a while trying to keep focus as far as where the story's going progressively as it goes from start to end. He jumps around a lot, and that does get kind of distracting. Sometimes you think you're reading progressively, sometimes you're seeing something that's kind of like a flashback, like no, it's now perfect, and then you kind of get things broken into the like these little, sub paragraph within a chapter, like, hey, we're breaking into this thing here. So that could get kind of confusing as you kind of go through it. The art, I thought the art was really well. Carlos Begam, for the most part, does all the art. I thought his action scenes are good. I like his Batman and the panels like this. The fight scenes without are nice, well choreographed, good action. Overall, I think the art is just really well done. So it's nice to look at. Structure is okay. Story, the way it's told, is kind of jumpy. So that on its own would not make it bad. The problem is, again, so there's someone who's kind of creating this rift between the two, insinuating that, Damian is not the true son of Batman, and what leads to Batman kind of hunting down Deathstroke to shut him down, blah, 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 blah. So who did it? So there's one thing I remember reading Batman Eternal, and I like Batman Eternal, but it was one of the kind of like the running gags. Some who read it and kind of did videos on it, it was kind of getting to a point where you think you find out who the big bad was that was behind everything, and it turned out to be not that person. So it was like, who was it? So you get the new person, you think that's the person, you're like, no, it's a fake guy. No, who is it? The same type of thing here as far as who planted the big envelope in the beginning. They kind of showed the DNA results that showed that Slade Wilson was the father of Damian, and it goes from, oh, it must have been Tim Drake, he's the one who did it. No, it wasn't him. Who is it? Oh, it was, Slade Wilson's ex-wife. She's the one who did it. She has motive. It wasn't her. Psych. Oh, it was Talia al Ghul. So you kind of get that effect. So that was kind of like the one thing in Batman Eternal where the criticism behind it I kind of see, where it was kind of like the fake out was a lot. So you kind of get that within a 6-issue miniseries. So the execution of who was behind everything did feel kind of disjointed and kind of convenient. The person, I don't want to say who did it, does come up clean at the end by accident. While Tim Drake, I don't want to spoil it, the person who planted the envelope got the information through nefarious means, potentially used to mislead individuals. This letter is found by somebody. I'm dodging around it. At the end of the day, and it was a long time ago, it says it clearly in the end when this person is confronted, like, hey, why'd you doctor up the DNA results, while the intent behind the original plot to do it made sense. The person straight up says in here, and I don't want to show because I want to spoil who's the one who did it, actually said, I totally forgot all about that. In maybe different words, but I was like, yeah, I did it, but that was such a long time ago. I sort of forgot about it. That felt like so much of a letdown as you're kind of reading this. That could have been the one redeeming quality behind the concept of someone doctoring the DNA results, and it's just, in the day, it was meant to happen a long time ago, but you just found about now. I forgot I did that. Oh yeah, how about that? Well, this is why I did it, to show you the potential of this, the partnership we can have, and bleh. So at the end of the day, it's just the story. It was just a whole lot of action and Deathstroke versus Batman mano a mano. Now, the one thing that compelled me to get the trade, and this is where the bat completionist me comes in. This is where the person with the history degree kind of comes in. You kind of want to study the background of the character and kind of keep track of things and things of that nature. The collector, me too. If you look back in Batman, in the story, especially when Damian was brought forth, there was never shown, not to my knowledge, a definitive DNA test that showed, yes, Bruce Wayne is the biological father of Damian. It was always inferred. Bruce always believed it, but it's never shown in printed page, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, and please, if I am, don't crucify me. That yes, DNA results, yes, Bruce Wayne is the biological father of Damian. And this is one that Bruce just took it as belief. Hey, and even if it was get to the point where if it wasn't even proven, it was just they built a relationship, and he just said, hey, this is my son. There was never any, and there's mention to it. They couldn't infer that it was done, but it's never shown in page. Yes, there was a DNA results. You do get this at the very end of the story. We actually have the DNA results that shows father Bruce Wayne, son Damian Wayne, DNA match. So if you're looking at it as far as definitive I don't want to say definitive proof, because you can always come back if someone say, well, that was Doctor too, just like someone did with Deathstroke. And fair enough, but hey, documented. Bruce Wayne, biological father of Gaming Wing. So that was the one thing kind of compelled me to get a good deal. Plus, there's that aspect. Sure, why not? So, overall, the story, not bad if you're looking at it from a pure action Batman versus Deathstroke perspective. Fight, bang, bang, across the world, two similar characters going at it. Sure. If you're looking for something for substance, no. Kind of goes back to the experience I had when I was reading it monthly during the story when it came out. The premise, clearly Damian was not going to be shown that he is the son of Deathstroke. No. So kind of going in, if you believe that was a potential, I would say don't. Just go into this as, just a fun action story, Batman versus Deathstroke, with decent art, some writing that's a little choppy, but a concept in that perspective could be fun. Overall, grade-wise, I can't give this more than like a 2 out of 5. I might even go as low to maybe say a 1.75 out of 5, but I'll say art and the action, I'll be fair, 2, and that's pretty much being nice. 2 out of 5 for this. Do I recommend it? Not really, unfortunately, though. Only if, again, you have nothing else to read and you come across a good deal. Sure, but if you're thinking going into this is a groundbreaking story, other than, like I said, the smidgen at the end, no, I wouldn't. Might be able to get these in a dollar bin, unfortunately. The hardcover on this, cover price, $25. You do get a good little back matter at the end where Christopher Priest kind of gives you the premise of how the story came up. And originally it was supposed to be him and Scott Snyder actually writing this, but Snyder got pulled. He kind of mentioned this, that he had to do metal, so it ended up being Christopher Priest solely on him. So the explanation of how the story came about is here laid out. Is pretty interesting, and maybe if them two kind of worked out, maybe this would have executed a little bit better, but at least you get that, and you kind of get some interesting sketches at the end. But $25 for this, I would say no. If you can get it in dollar bins, spend the $5-6 at some point, or if you're getting DC Universe, check it out. But probably not. Other than hardcore Batman collectors, sure, if you were really stretching, or if you want to get the variant covers, get the art like I did, which is kind of indicative of a problem. So 2 out of 5. However, without my recommendation to purchase it. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below if you read this story, and we'll kind of bat chat about it, go from there. Got a couple ideas for some other videos coming up that I'm probably going to do. Got another Bat book. It's from like that 80s, 90s time period that I kind of want to talk about. I haven't heard anybody talking about this one very much at all. So it'll be interesting to go into that. I got some other books. I got some ideas. Just got to get time to knock them out. Maybe do some singular issues. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, again, hit me up in the comments below, bat chat, and go from there. So until next video, take care.